Okay, so thank you all for joining us tonight for our virtual resident meet and greet. We're really excited to have you and hope that this can help you kind of navigate information about our program in this virtual recruitment season. So what we're going to be going over this evening is why we think our program is special and why we would encourage you to apply here. Including some highlights about the program and then what it's like to live in Iowa City and the surrounding area. And then we will do a brief Q&A together and then break out into small groups to go over questions more and so that you can get to know us better.
Yeah, so I guess in making this presentation for y'all and kind of thinking about what were some of the most difficult things to sort out during interview season back when I was going through was distinguishing programs from one another. I think you guys will find as you interview at places that a lot of programs are more similar than they are dissimilar. So we thought it would be good to kind of start out with a list of things that we think kind of distinguish us as a pathology program. And so I think something that you'll hear echoed with most of the residents or all of the residents here tonight is that I guess our number one asset or resource here at the University of Iowa is its people. We really have a tremendous camaraderie, both amongst ourselves as residents, but also with our faculty and with all of the ancillary and support staff that are part of our department. It does have kind of a like very much like a close knit or almost like familial vibe between the members of the program. Other things that we think really distinguish us are our surgical pathology training here at Iowa. As the only comprehensive medical center in the state of Iowa, we really do get a great mixture of cases that get referred from basically all different corners of the state. That includes, complex resections, rare diseases, and just general bread and butter stuff, as we do kind of service the Iowa City area as kind of one of the primary hospitals in this area. Additionally, we have really exceptional autopsy training here at Iowa. If you have an interest in forensics, our Johnson County, where Iowa City is located, the Johnson County Medical Examiner office is actually based out of the University Hospital. So we have 3 medical examiners that work with us on the autopsy service. So even starting from your first year, you're exposed both to medical examiner cases and general family consent cases. So you get a good mixture of different autopsy case types. We prosect all of our own cases here. We don't share cases, so it's very hands-on. You're in the driver's seat from day one, both doing the case and writing up the report afterwards. And then we have great CP training here as well. I think, again, one of those kind of like key phrases that you'll hear during interview season is, places will tell you like, oh, our CP rotations aren't, just you in a corner reading a book. And that is true at Iowa. We again, all of our CP rotations are very hands-on. You're covering the pager for whatever service you're on, and you're kind of the first line or the first point of contact for the clinical teams that have questions, whether they be related to clinical chemistry issues, microbiology issues, transfusion medicine issues, heme path. And then I guess two really standout areas within CP at Iowa are flow cytometry. So we do flow cytometry a little bit different at Iowa than kind of around the country. We actually have 2 10-color flow cytometers and a brand new 12-color flow cytometer. And rather than kind of the traditional gating and printing out of flow reports to be analyzed by the resident, we do cluster analysis. So we use a specific computer program, and like you, the resident, are there isolating and kind of studying the populations of interest to you, and then generating the report yourself. So that's a really great rotation. It's a great experience. I think flow cytometry is a universally loved CP rotation amongst our residents. And then our molecular pathology, as around the country, is just constantly evolving at a rapid rate. And we feel that we have done a great job of kind of keeping up with that. Here at Iowa, we just recently launched our Iowa Cancer Mutation Profiling Panel. which is around a 200 gene panel that has, 109 different hotspot mutations that it can detect. It can do full coding sequences for 93 different genes, and can do copy number variant analysis for 49 different genes. So almost akin to like a Foundation One, kind of like a all-in-one encompassing type molecular genetics panel. So again, you get great exposure to really kind of cutting edge molecular testing here at Iowa. And then we have, great opportunities for research. I kind of joke that one of the most important skills you learn as a resident in Iowa is telling people no, because you'll just constantly have faculty asking you, if you're interested in starting up a research project with them. So we have lots of great opportunities to do, either bench research or clinical research, whatever you fancy. And then the Iowa City area is, it's really a pretty great place to live. It's super easy to get around here. The population of the area here is around 75,000. So it's not overwhelming, but it's large enough that you kind of have all the, basic like big box stores that you might, like to have around if you needed to run in and get something quick. Cost of living here is very reasonable. I know a lot of the residents here own their own homes, so they're, on their resident salary are comfortably able to buy property. So it really is a great place to live and to do your training.
Absolutely. So some basic information about our program. So like Joe mentioned, we're located in Iowa City. Our program director is pictured here. This is Dr. Bashir. And then our associate program directors are Drs. Krasowski and Dr. Snow. Our program coordinator, who you would converse with frequently if you were to apply here, is Angela Briggs. And then the chief residents are myself. I'm Tracy Halverson. I'm a third-year resident. And then also Joe Lockman, who you just heard from. He is a fourth-year resident. We will be offering 6 positions for the next year, and our stipend, I think, is quite competitive, especially given the low cost of living in Iowa. So this year, our PGY1 salary was just over $57,000.
So again, to kind of hit on some of the program highlights, not mentioned previously, at Iowa, we do have an integrated AP-CP curriculum. So that basically means that, you do both AP and CP rotations throughout your 4 years here. It's not like a 2 years of AP and 2 years of CP. Our rotations are all 4 weeks. So it comes out to 13 rotations per year. And we do a total of 25 rotations within the disciplines of anatomic pathology, and then 20 rotations within the discipline of clinical pathology. And then we have 7 months of electives. So usually that's time spent, getting caught up on whatever research projects you're involved with, or if you have leftover cases from autopsy that you are writing up. That's something that people do on electives. Our surgical pathology rotation is broken into a 3-day cycle. So day 1, oh, okay. I guess we have it kind of reversed on here. So basically it's split such that we have 2 days where you're previewing and signing out cases. And then on every 3rd day, you're in the gross room. So on your gross room day, you're in the gross room for that entire day. You help triage and gross cases that come in. And then the following 2 days, you are following up those cases microscopically. So the things that you gross, you get to see on the slides and kind of follow those all the way through to sign out. In the gross room, we have 5 full-time PAs plus a PA student. So there is plenty of help in there. And it really allows you, the resident, to kind of take on, interesting or challenging cases that you want to gross, or that you kind of want to learn how to handle as a pathologist. So it's a really great experience, both in there and then on the previewing and signing out days. At Iowa, we have kind of a mixture of both a general and subspecialty sign out. So we have some disciplines that are split off and have their own specialty services, like GI pathology. neuropath, dermatopathology, and medical renal. Those are their own specialty rotations that we do as residents. And then kind of the other major like surgery types get lumped into a general surg path. So, you know, you'll see a mixture of gynecologic, genitourinary, thoracic, head and neck, kind of all within, you know, the 2 days that you're previewing cases. We are currently transitioning toward what we're calling a working group system. So basically, the thought there is that rather than having all of those tissue types that I just mentioned kind of every day, you on a per week basis would do, like, let's say breast and thoracic as the surgical specimens that you would see both in the gross room and then on days 2 and 3 when you're previewing and signing out cases. And then the next week you might be on GU and head and neck. And then the next week you would be doing like principally GYN. So we're currently in the process of moving more toward that kind of like pseudo subspecialty sign out situation. So that's kind of in the pipeline. All of our rotations here at Iowa are on site. So we have a centralized campus right here in Iowa City. The VA is basically right across the street, kind of in the same medical campus as the university. So you don't have to travel between different sites for any given rotation. And then, like I mentioned earlier, the medical examiner's office is actually based out of the hospital. So your autopsy rotations are also all in-house. We have daily 7:30 didactic series, which are currently being done virtually given the pandemic. And that includes a weekly microscopic unknown session where one of our surgical pathology faculty, typically the week before, will put out slides and they'll give kind of like a one-liner of history. And then it's on you to come in and preview those slides yourself, come up with a differential, come up with, you know, any kind of ancillary studies you would want to perform. And then on Tuesday mornings at 7:30, we go through those cases. And then we also have a voluntary series of resident-led conferences that we do each week. So we have what we call Interesting Case Conference, where the folks on basically any rotation that involves microscopy of any kind will bring whatever interesting case they've had that week and show it to whatever residents show up that week as just kind of a, hey, I saw this cool thing this week, it's really rare, or this is a great example of X and I thought I'd share. And then we also do a series based on Diana Malavi's introductory book to surgical pathology. So one of our current SurgPath fellows during his time as a resident here went through and pulled cases for every entry in that book and got just good examples of all the things that she mentions in that book. And on Friday mornings at 7:30, we basically go through a chapter or a portion of a chapter of that book. And it's geared toward, you know, teaching our junior level residents or medical students, but I mean, it's a great resource for anybody who just wants to come and kind of review some of the more quote unquote like basic or bread and butter histology. And as an upper level resident, it's a great conference to participate in just because it forces you to learn something well enough to be able to teach it to your more junior peers. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So some more kind of basic information about our program. We have a number of fellowships here, including surgical pathology, including one position that has a GI emphasis. We also have a cytopath fellowship, heme path, molecular, micro, and transfusion medicine fellowships. I know when I was applying to residency, I was very interested in the book fund and technology fund. So we offer an $850 book fund per year, and those funds do carry over from year to year. So a lot of people, I know I use this money to pay for my step 3. You can certainly use it for books, or you can even save it till the end of your residency and pay for your AP or CP boards with that money. As a first-year resident, you also get a $600 technology fund. This is traditionally used towards the purchase of an iPad that you can then use, during conferences or for work, or put Epic on it, what have you. You could also use that money towards a computer that is approved by the department. So that's pretty awesome. We do also have the perk of getting travel and accommodations paid for when we are presenting an abstract at a national conference. And we actually take advantage of this quite a lot, I think. So we were kind of counting in last year, I think for sure at least probably 50 to 60% of us presented at least one national conference. And again, that's all paid for by the department. It's not written here, but you also get one free conference as a senior resident where you can go to any conference you want. You don't have to present, and the department will pay for it. Another perk of our program as a first-year resident is that you do not take really any weekend call, and overall your call is pretty light. So first-year residents do take weekday AP call during 2 rotations of their first year. So that maybe ends up being, a few days here and there. And then you do cover Saturdays on autopsy, but only when you're on the autopsy service. So you're on the hook for autopsies, maybe 8 Saturdays out of the year max, and then maybe a holiday. So your first year is really focused on, getting through each rotation and learning the essentials of AP and CP before you're taking, true, weekend or evening AP CP call.
Yeah, and so here we just have some of our census numbers from last year. We elected not to include our current numbers from this year because COVID kind of put a little bit of a wrench into the machine for that. We're currently now kind of on the rise again with our numbers. But so last year anyway, we had a little over 46,000 surgical pathology specimens, around 10,000 GYN cytology specimens, 6,700 non-GYN cytology specimens, and around 2,200 bone marrow biopsies and 485 autopsies. And I want to highlight just briefly the non-GYN cytology specimens. I think that's kind of another hidden perk of our program is we have a really great cytology service here, and I think one of its strengths is, while you are exposed to, just your classic, pap smears or classic GYN cytology specimens, we actually get a lot of non-GYN cytology specimens. So we do a lot of thyroid nodule aspirations, and then like deeper tissue aspirations where we go along to do the adequacies. So lung, soft tissue. It's a pretty brisk service, and you get exposed to a lot of different tissue types. Not just, you're not just looking at pap smears all day on the cyto service. So yeah.
So Matt and Rob are going to take it over from here. And we do have a kind of fun video highlighting Iowa City that we're going to attempt to show you. It's about 3 minutes long. Let's see if it works embedded or not.
Are you guys getting sound?
Yeah, I don't have audio, Tracy. I don't know if.
Yeah.
Is anybody else getting sound? No?
Nope.
No.
Okay.
Nope.
It's probably because it's maybe coming through my headphones. So there is a video on YouTube called A Great Big Storm. And it is I think a really nice video highlighting some of the art and culture of Iowa City. So when you have time and audio, feel free to check it out.
I mean, it is just a song.
I think it's still worth watching.
Oh,
I mean,
okay. Well, maybe we can
mainly
chat
it's
over
just there's
it?
like a sound sound behind it. But yeah, it's a nice overview of kind of downtown area of the different cities that are in the area. So I don't know. I mean, I think it's fine to watch with the audio.
Yeah, you guys could
The
just start.
DVD commentary reel. So much of these are shots of the east side of campus where most of the undergrads are. Some good slow-mo.
It's much more dramatic with the audio.
Yeah, you guys could go ahead and start talking while this like plays if you want.
Sorry.
Fun fact, so the song, A Great Big Storm, that is like the background for this video, is by, I think his name is Nate Ruiz, who is the lead singer for Fun, and he was born in Iowa City, hence why they use the song.
It's also a little ironic now because we just had the derecho come through.
We just had a great big storm.
I worked there when I was in high school.
And
I
then
forgot
people-
about that.
Yeah.
Lots of food shots.
Yeah, not many of us are actually locals, but Matt grew up here, so he'll really be able to tell you about the area.
Lots of drone photography.
Well, I really enjoyed the song that you guys couldn't hear. So sorry about that. All right, Matt and Rob, take it away. If I can advance. There we go.
Yeah, so like Meredith said, I'm Matt Gossi. I'm a third-year resident, and I grew up in Iowa City, so I'm happy to talk about Iowa City with you guys. And my partner is Rob. You want to introduce yourself?
I'm Rob. I'm a second-year resident. I did not grow up in Iowa City, but I've lived here for over a decade.
So this is kind of a brief overview of living in Iowa City. You know, Joe kind of mentioned a few specifics. It is a smaller city. Iowa City proper is 75,000 people, but the Iowa City kind of metro area, there's Coralville and North Liberty that are kind of all next to each other. It's all pretty much one city. That brings it up to more around 120 or so thousand. And then there's a 30,000 person, you know, undergraduate campus as well. So, you know, it's small and it has a smaller field, but it also there's a lot of, you know, bigger type city things that you get because of the university that's here. And one thing highlighted on the right side of the page is Hancher. That's our auditorium, and there's lots of great musicals and performing groups that come through Iowa City, as well as within the university itself. They have a good symphony orchestra, you know, dance group, and all this kind of those things. So there's lots of art that comes through the area that is highlighted by this nice new building in Hancher. The old Capitol is on the left side on the top pane. The Iowa City used to be the capital of Iowa until Des Moines took over, a little more centralized location in Iowa, but we still have the building that was the old Capitol. It's kind of like a symbol of the city. And it is kind of in the main center of campus. But that's another thing that's unique about Iowa City is the undergraduate campus is kind of blends in with the downtown area, so it makes for a unique downtown experience as well, because there's lots of great restaurants, there's lots of fun things to do, but then it's quite incorporated with the university. Behind the old Capitol there's a river, and then on the other side of that is all the hospital system. So like there's kind of a river that runs between Iowa City and the campuses. So there's kind of the undergraduate side, and then there's the medical education and the hospital and everything side. So that is the hospital in the background, and there's a more closer up view of the hospital below that. It's a great place, as Joe mentioned. It's the only hospital in the state, so we get a lot of
it's the only academic center in the state. We do have other hospitals.
There are other hospitals in Iowa, don't worry. Thanks. Sorry, you can advance the slide. You want to talk about this, Rob?
Yeah, so this is just, we lifted this image from one of the local Chamber of Commerce websites, just kind of demonstrating that while there's a lot to do in Iowa City, you're also, if you choose to end up here and you end up in Iowa City, there's several larger cities that are within driving distance. It's not uncommon to spend the weekend in Chicago, or if you're Tracy, who hails from Minneapolis, the Minneapolis area, to spend the weekend in Minneapolis.
It's true.
She loves Minneapolis. And even places like Indianapolis and Detroit are drivable if you want to make that investment in time. Like just thinking over my past year, I think I've been able to have time to make it to every city on the map except Indianapolis. So we're not entirely chained to the hospital at all times. We do have time to have a life.
Yeah, and I'll also point out just north of Iowa City is Cedar Rapids, and that is a bit bigger city, and it's more of just kind of a run-of-the-mill city. There's no big university associated with it. So anyways, there's things to do for sure.
So then just talking about downtown Iowa City specifically. So the downtown is contiguous with the main undergraduate campus. And so you can see in that picture on the right, you can see the old Capitol, and directly across the street from it, you see businesses from downtown. Then we have a couple other shots. The top row on the left is our pedestrian mall. In the 1970s, they took out a couple blocks of streets, and it's paved over with brick now. And now it's lined with shops and restaurants and bars, like it was previously, but it's entirely for pedestrians, which is great for outdoor dining, particularly during a pandemic. But then lots of other activities happen in the Penn Mall as well, live music, that kind of thing. And then that bottom photo is an Iowa business that it's in other cities in the Midwest now too, but they have some cheeky apparel that they sell. I bought a face mask for them recently that said "In Fauci we trust," like that kind of thing. It's a little bit snarky. It's a cool place though. And then going on to the next slide. There's a lot of cultural and arts events that take place in Iowa City. A lot of them are during the summer. So in June and July, you have Arts Fest over one weekend. There's a jazz fest that's just a full weekend of jazz music. And those events are either on the Pentecrest or nearby, in the surrounding streets. The past couple of summers, the city of Iowa City has put on a downtown block party where they rope off several city blocks, and there's really like all kinds of stuff happening. There's lots of different live music, dueling pianos, other performances. I think there's like a drag show. There's a sand volleyball, lots of food vendors, silent disco, all kinds of stuff. It was canceled this summer due to concerns related to the pandemic, but it'll be back once things are headed in a more normal direction. During the summer in the Ped Mall, there is live music on Friday nights, so I think that's what we're seeing here in that picture on the right. And it's since there's not students, you get like a different crowd in the summer with a lot more permanent Iowa City residents in the area. And then on Saturdays on the Pentacrest during the summer, they have live movies that are projected onto a big screen. And so you get families that come and bring chairs, blankets, that sort of thing. There's also a pretty, I guess for the area, there's a pretty large a Pride festival at the end of June typically, and then North Liberty has this really cool blues and barbecue event. I think we see that highlighted in that video we showed earlier with hot air balloons, and that keeps getting bigger and bigger every year. So there's a lot of like fun cultural things to do. Several of the communities do fireworks on the 4th of July. I know this summer most of them were canceled to keep people a distance apart, but I remember when I started back in 2019, a bunch of us got together on the Pentacrest and watched fireworks as a group, and it's there's a surprising amount of things to do for a city of this size. Do you have anything to add, Matt?
No, I think that was good. Thinking about in the middle of Iowa, you're maybe thinking it's just pretty flat and lots of cornfields, and there certainly is that if you're interested, but there are quite a variety of parks and outdoor activities that are available throughout, even pretty much throughout the year. Here's a few highlighted. There's a pretty decent mountain biking trail that's outside of town that's highlighted there, and then in the middle is my favorite place to go that's within the city. It's Hickory Hill Park. It's just a larger park with quite a few trails. I think it's probably got at least 10 miles of trails in nature. And then on the right there's a large dam that is north of Iowa City, and that has a reservoir behind it. And so there's a lake there, and so there's quite a few hiking trails around it. There's kind of a beach area, and then it's just got a lot of nature outside of there. There is a state park that's just nearby as well called Lake McBride. It's similar. It's got, all the things that you would want to do outside. They're pretty much the only thing that we don't have as far as, outdoor activities is mountains, but there's, decent hills and things. There's plenty of, in the wintertime, there's lots of activities to do too if you like to be outside in the cold. Lots of people do snowshoeing, they do cross-country skiing, they ice fishing, that kind of thing. There are a few downhill skiing, I wouldn't call them mountains in the area. They're more like large hills, but those opportunities exist as well. So there's stuff to do on the water and the lakes and that kind of thing too. So there's quite a bit to do for whatever you're interested in. And then what comes along with the big university that's in the Big Ten is there's sports as well if you're interested in that as well. So the football season has been canceled this year, but hopefully next year it'll be back. And it's always fun if you're interested in going or even just watching, and the city pretty much comes alive during those Saturdays. That there's 70,000 people that can fit inside that stadium, and there is a lot of things going on in town, especially downtown and things. And then the basketball team this year, we'll see if they have a season, but we're supposed to be pretty good. So anyways, there's more sports than just football and basketball. There's all the different things that if you like that kind of stuff. I think that's probably it. Rob, did you have anything else to add about what we talked about?
I don't think so.
It's a bike-friendly community as well. I ride my bike every once in a while to work, and so do a few other residents. And there's plenty of off-road trails as well as on-road trails. So that's nice as well.
A lot of times it's faster than driving your car. That's great. Back to you, Tracy and Joe.
Thanks, Matt and Rob. So we're going to do just a brief Q&A as a large group to go over kind of our IMG policies. I know there's a lot of questions about them. And then we'll wrap things up as a large group and then break into small groups in the breakout rooms. So our IMG policies are available on the website, so you can go to the information for applicants page, and we discuss these in more detail there. But our program does support H-1B and J-1 visas. We unfortunately do not have an observership program for IMGs specifically, but any IMGs, can apply. So we've got a question of, can I apply from India? Of course you can. And then what you do need is to have passed step 1, step 2 CK, and step 2 CS before we would consider you for an interview. And if you are seeking an H-1B visa, we also ask that you pass step 3 in order to be considered for an interview. If you have any specific questions about your scenario, I would recommend contacting Angela Briggs, who is our coordinator, and she could maybe help you figure out your situation. So again, transitioning now to the breakout rooms, the people highlighted in yellow are the residents that we have with us tonight. And Nathaniel is not highlighted here, but he will be joining us as well. So Nathaniel and Alan are both first years. Rob and Alyssa are second years. Myself, Matt, Nicole, Meredith, and Alex are third years. And Alex is actually on vacation right now, and yet she is still taking time out of her evening to join us. So that's pretty awesome. And then we have Joe, who you met, who is a fourth year. So in conclusion of our large group session, please stay in touch. This is the email that our program coordinator uses, and all of this is available on our website. So, feel free to reach out to Angela, reach out to me or Joe, and we're happy to answer any questions that you have. It sounds like most of you already follow us on Twitter, and we're pretty active there. So certainly, stay in touch with us that way as well. And then we also do have an Instagram and a Facebook page. Are there any questions that should be addressed or comments that should be addressed as a large group before we break up? Does anyone have anything?
I have one question.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for the presentation and for all your efforts. I have a question regarding the surgical pathology rotation. So the coverage of the frozen section should be in the day of the grossing, or it has another day for the resident to cover?
So the day that you are in the gross room, you are also on for the frozen sections that come in during the day, and then starting after your, starting with your second surgical pathology rotation, you would be on call for any frozens that come in overnight. But on the days where you're previewing and signing out cases, you are not responsible for any of the frozen sections that come in during the day. So it's just when the day that you're in the gross room, basically you're on for frozen section.
That was a good question.
That's a great question, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Anything else before we break out into small groups?
I have one more question.
Yeah.
So does the program take only AP or only CP residents apart from the 4-year regular AP-CP training?
Yes, so we currently have one AP only resident and one CP only resident in the program. So yeah, we do have that flexibility or option if you want to do a restricted track.
And is that training gonna be like 4-year or?
Typically it's 3.
Okay.
Okay. Another good question. All right, I think I'm going to stop recording.